A very good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Situation. Today we look at the politics of betrayal. We know that the history of Kenya is replete with politics of betrayal. Mr. George Njogu is here to take us through a brief history of this politics of betrayal. Mr. John Njogu, politics of betrayal in Kenya, where did it begin?
I think the first thing that we need to recognize is that the currency of politics is betrayal, So if you look at our country, Kenya, betrayal has not just started now. It has started since that time when our country was born. In other words, when we were colonized by the Britons, Kenyans decided to fight for their freedoms. And therefore we see what we commonly referred to as the Mau Mau War broke out. And people started to fight for their freedoms. So this, I would like to categorize them into three groups. One is the people who were involved in the physical fight. Two are those who are also involved in the fight for freedom. That is, in other words, the intellectuals. And they were not involved in the day-to-day fighting. And three are those who are never involved in the fight. That is, in other words, the collaborators.
So people who collaborated with the colonialists instead of going to war with them.
Instead of fighting for our freedoms, they decided to work with the colonial masters. And so they collaborated with them.
So you want to tell us that betrayal started right there. The collaborators betraying the country's, quest for freedom.
Exactly. Betrayal started there. Collaborators betrayed all the Kenyans. Then, immediately after we got our independence, there was an agreement, or in other words, let's call it an MOU for that matter. There was an MOU between the Mau Mau freedom fighters who were actually traversing the Mount Kenya region and the Aberdare and every other part of the country, ready to take the bullet for our freedom. So there was an agreement between them and the intellectuals who are also fighting for the same cause, but they were not involved in the day-to-day fighting. So there was that MOU that was there between the Mau Mau freedom fighters, the likes of Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi, Mildred Kagia, and all those. And so forth. And on the other hand, that MOU was between them and our founding father Kenyatta, and those other intellectuals that were also fighting for the same cause, but they were not involved in the physical fight. So that MOU was not honored.
So again, we can see betrayal there. The MOU between these Mau Mau fighters and the presidency at that time was not honored.
Exactly. And the MOU was simply about equitable distribution of wealth
so after
to all the Kenyans.
After the colonialists had left, there was an MOU that was to ensure that wealth of the country was to be distributed equally among all Kenyans.
Exactly.
All right, and it was not honored. And we can see that the founding father came up with a policy, the African nationalism, and African socialism, where everything was supposed to belong to the country, not individuals. Exactly. But later on, we can see that Kenyatta and his government at that time turned to the West. So they started capitalism as a form of governance.
Yeah, exactly.
And then immediately Kenyatta was sworn in as the country's first president. Jaramogi Oginga Odinga became his number two.
Exactly.
So then what transpired there, because we can see there was a lot of bad blood between Jaramogi and Kenyatta at that time. So do we see another betrayal there?
Even before I come to that point, what I have just said, the evidence is very clear, because the physical freedom freedom fighters who are fighting the war physically, the evidence is still there even today. We see them languishing in poverty when they are not supposed to do that. Now, coming to Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, if you go back to the history, you will remember that Jaramogi was among those leaders who said that the country will not move on until Kenyatta is released. And that is exactly what happened. If he was not loyal to him, he could have decided to take the country
Because
upon
he was,
himself.
actually was given the opportunity to do
Exactly.
so. But he denied,
Exactly.
he refused.
He refused
declined,
that.
saying that Kenyatta must come back from
He
prison.
must come back. He must come
He
back.
said he cannot lead when Kenyatta is still there.
So you see somebody who was not ready to betray his friend, but immediately after he was given the position of the vice president, Kenyatta decided to betray him.
So it not just Kenyatta, but we can see a lot of people who are, in the Kenyatta's kitchen cabinet.
It is actually what we call today the deep state.
Yeah, the deep state, So these guys are the people who choreographed the removal of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga from the VP's post.
Exactly.
Tom Mboya included.
Exactly.
So we can see betrayal. And then later on came Joseph Murumbi, who decided to resign after the assassination of Payogama Pinto, which was also an act of betrayal. Then Mboya was also betrayed.
The actual reason here is that whoever is in power, they actually don't like a position whereby there are two centers of power. And you can go back to the history, you can see that. After the colonialism, there could have been two centers of power, that is Kenyatta and the Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi, who was actually the leader of the freedom fighters. Well, one has to give way.
Okay.
The vice presidents who were there before, they were actually acting at the behest of the president. So the president can hire you today, and in the afternoon, he fires you.
You have to dance to his tune.
You have to dance to his tune. You have to dance to his tune. You have to jump as high as he says.
So you just jump. You don't ask how high.
Without thinking, without even asking questions.
All right. Anyway, so this is actually the history of betrayal, politics of betrayal in Kenya. The most recent case we saw, Saitoti being betrayed by Moi.
Exactly.
When Moi was to retire, and people were expecting Saitoti to be named as his successor. Also, the merger between NDP at that time and KANU. People were expecting a lot, for Raila, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
Instead, Moi decided to name Uhuru as his successor. So again, we can see politics of betrayal there. But again, as we continue with this, you will realize that even the government of national unity between Kibaki and Raila, there is an MOU, an infamous MOU that Big Said was not honored. So we can again see politics of betrayal. So it is something that has been there for a long time, politics of betrayal.
That is why I said that betrayal is the currency of politics.
It is the name of the game.
It is the name of the game. Because whatever promises that you make, they are not written anywhere. They are not written in stone.
So it
is a matter of get me there and that's it. Just get me there and that's it. So once you get there, everything else is forgotten.
You forget about the people who pushed you to that height.
That's
so, ladies and gentlemen, that is the state of politics of betrayal in Kenya. So we can see a repeat of the same. We can see a repeat of the same. Deputy President William Ruto again with Uhuru Kenyatta. We can see. Although we are not very sure that it will happen, but we can smell some betrayal here and there because, the bromance between them is no more.
Before I come to the president and his deputy, I want to invite each and every Kenyan to look at the agreement that you had with your member of parliament. Your member of parliament agreed, or in other words, he promised to do a few things here and there for your constituency. In other words, this is the agreement between you as his employer and him. How much of those promises has they delivered? Are they not betraying you?
Very good question.
Are they not betraying us and we are their employers?
So
the answer is yes.
On a larger platform, on a bigger platform, we can see our politicians betraying the Kenyan populace,
exactly.
the Kenyan people. So betrayal is everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. And with politics, I think we need to be very smart. Let us choose people who have the interest of the country at heart, not the interest of the country in their pockets and their own interest at their own hearts.
So you are asking about the president,
what is happening right now?
President and his deputy. This is something that is going on, and it has been going on. I personally cannot say authoritatively that somebody has betrayed the other. But the big question that I am asking myself is this: who betrayed who? Between the two of them, who betrayed who?
Or who is betraying who? Because maybe it's something that is still going on.
For me, from where I stand, I think they are betraying each other.
They are betraying. And by the way, you see, even NASA, the NASA coalition, there are people who are said to have betrayed the Raila Odinga, the NASA coalition.
Exactly.
When they were supposed to be, going to Uhuru Park, when Baba was going to be sworn in. Yeah. What happened? Manueta was not there. Kalonzo Musyoka disappeared.
They were supposed to show up.
Mudavadi disappeared. They were supposed to show up, but again we can see betrayal there.
They never showed up.
And then Baba Raila Odinga also decided to betray them by sneaking into Harappe House and having the now famous handshake with
and taking the hand.
So that is another form of betrayal. So betrayal is everywhere, ladies and gentlemen.
But on a very serious note, we can go back to when Kenyatta and Ruto came together. There was all that friendship and bromance going on, putting on the same ties and all that.
Yes, right.
They were so much close. They were so much close to each other. But in my own analysis, there is something so deep that happened between them that we, the Kenyan people, don't know about. There is something so deep. It is not an issue of politics. I don't believe it is an issue of politics. There's something else to it. Because in politics, we always say there are no permanent enemies. Look at what happened between Kenyatta and Raila. They were insulting each other every now and then. Who knew they will come together and work together?
And now, actually, what has it that they are planning another government of national unity?
That's what we are hoping.
Post-corona governance of Kenya.
It might be coming. But these two leaders, the president and the deputy, something so deep. There's something so deep in between them. Because as far as I know, this is my own view, the first term of Jubilee government, I think the deputy president, to a larger extent, was calling the shots.
All right,
this second term,
we really don't know what happened, but we believe that something must have happened.
There's something.
So, betrayal is the name of the game. So we want to urge His Excellency the Deputy President, Mr. William Ruto, that he should understand that betrayal has been there. People have been betrayed in politics. We just request you to, organize your team, organize your house well, and come back bigger and victorious in this situation. We don't know whether the now romance between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga will last long. Because we don't know, maybe Raila is wrong, Raila has some,
Who knows? Even this issue of, showing as if there is a betrayal here. It could be an act.
It could be a game. Yeah, it could be just staging an act. And remember what Raila did too with Kanu.
Yeah.
During the Kanu NDP merger, you know what happened? He ran away with a big chunk of Kanu. Maybe that is what he's planning. You don't know.
It could be an act.
I think the deputy president must sit pretty, knowing that anything is possible, yes, but he should put his house together, strategize ahead, and probably maybe beat Uhuru and Raila in their own game.
Or there is even another option where the deputy president and Raila can come together on the government.
That's
and
true.
leave Uhuru alone.
Or even
there are so many options.
There are so many options. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this program. We wish to take this opportunity once more to thank you for staying engaged and staying tuned to the program. We will get in touch with you pretty soon, again in our next program. Until then, keep safe.
And please make sure you put your member of parliament on task because he is betraying you.